It's not like he wants to kill. He just doesn't want to die. You know, by the time you get out your house, you strapped to protect yourself. Because you living in the same community that the police is carrying rifles and riot gear. Same, they need them riot. Excuse my language, I'm so sorry.
If you're a fan of hip-hop, you know that violence and death is often glorified in the music. Most of the time, we understand that the lyrics aren't meant to be taken literally. But brace yourself, because here are 5 rappers who actually killed. Let's begin. Number 5. Tupac Shakur.
Thug life is the only thing up in the 90s. These is my thug life niggas, and we finna do this like this while I roll a blunt. Y'all finna talk, you know what I'm saying? Thug life.
Before you get all riled up, we'd like to start off by saying Tupac wasn't a murderer, or at least was never convicted of it. That out of the way, the rapper has had an immensely colorful life, and we just couldn't leave it out. Tupac's story is one of inspiration and darkness, fame and infamy. Shakur understood only too well. I feel like role models today are not meant to be put on a pedestal, he said, but more like angels with broken wings. Shakur's life was ended at the age of 25 by a hail of bullets. He will be remembered for both the criminal past that informed his creativity, as well as the celebrated body of work he left behind. With that caveat out of the way, let's reflect on the life of the deceased rapper. 1992. After a performance in Marin City, California, a confrontation occurred in which Shakur pulled out his registered Colton Mustang and then allegedly dropped it. When a member of his entourage picked up the gun, a bullet discharged. The stray bullet killed 6-year-old Kaid Walker Teal. Shakur and his stepbrother Maurice Harding were arrested, but the charges were later dismissed. It was reported that Shakur agreed to pay a settlement of between $300,000 and $500,000 to the parents of the slain child. 1993. Shakur spent 10 days in a Michigan prison for beating another rapper with a baseball bat. 1993. Shakur was arrested for a shooting incident in Atlanta involving 2 off-duty cops. According to witnesses, Mark Whitwell, a police officer in Clayton County, Georgia, and Whitwell's brother Scott, a police officer in nearby Henry County, and their wives were crossing the street when they were nearly hit by a car. The officers, who were in civilian clothing, got into a verbal altercation with the driver of the car and its passengers, as well as with the occupants of a second vehicle that stopped. The evidence regarding who fired the first shot or which car Shakur was in was not clear. However, as the fight escalated, Shakur shot one policeman in the leg and the other in the buttocks. Witnesses say Mark Whitwell pulled the gun first. Charges were dropped when it was determined that the officers involved were intoxicated and carrying guns taken from the police evidence room. 1993. Shakur was arrested for sexually abusing a 19-year-old woman who he'd met at a New York nightclub. Shakur allegedly sodomized and sexually abused the woman along with 3 of his friends. There were additional weapons charges. The sodomy and weapons charges were dropped. Shakur was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison, for which he served 9 months beginning the 14th of February 1995 at the Clinton Correctional Facility.
My life is ruined because nobody has a chance to get the facts.
And the fact is that there was no semen found.
No semen found, no forcible entry, no entry into the anal, no nothing, none of that. You know,
and no fingerprints on the gun.
No fingerprints on the guns, you know what I'm saying? The only time ever there was an act of sodomy, she admitted she did it to me. I should be, putting charges on this girl who sodomized me on the floor of a dance club.
And then finally, on September 7, 1996, in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada, Tupac was fatally shot. He was 25 years old. The shooting occurred at 11:15 p.m. Pacific Time, when the car carrying Shakur was stopped at the red light at East Flamingo Road and Colville Lane. He took 5 bullets and died on the spot. Number 4. Suge Knight. This rapper had a very crime-ridden past as well, but we'll skip ahead to the interesting part. On September 7, 1996, Knight was involved in a scuffle just hours before Tupac's murder. Just hours after that, Tupac Shakur was shot and killed. Even though he was never the prime suspect for the murder, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison for violating parole. Knight was grazed by bullets while driving the car in which Tupac Shakur was fatally shot in. After 5 years in prison, Suge was released. Soon after his release, he attended an MTV Music Awards party hosted by Kanye West in Miami. Knight was shot at the event and sued Kanye West, citing mental damages and seeking physical damages and surgery costs. Obviously, Kanye wasn't found guilty of anything. After tens of bullets and punches that went back and forth over the course of the next 14 years, Knight was arrested on suspicion of murder over a fatal hit-and-run incident that left one man dead in 2015. He turned himself into the LAPD. He was later hospitalized for a possibly fatal blood clot. At a later hearing, Suge Knight collapsed in court after learning that his bail was set at $25 million. His bail has since been lowered to $10 million. At the end of the Knight saga, awaiting his murder trial, Knight fired his lawyer based on a suspected leak from his legal team to the prosecutor. He replaced him with Stephen L. Schwartz, known for his representation of Michael Jackson during Jackson's child molestation case. Number 3. Snoop Dogg. Even if you don't listen to rap, you've probably heard that the slick-flowing Snoop Dogg is a gangsta and has killed people. But that's not exactly true. In 1993, Snoop Dogg was charged with murder following the death of a gang member who was allegedly shot and killed by Snoop's then bodyguard, McKinley Lee. Both Snoop and his triggerman were arrested. Snoop attended multiple trials and pleaded not guilty every time. He even changed 6 lawyers. In the beginning, Snoop's defense was that he didn't commit the murder, nor did he witness it. A couple lawyers later, he admitted that he did witness his bodyguard shooting his gang member, but that he was not implicit to the murder. A couple more lawyers later, he finally confessed in complete honesty, saying that my life was in danger, and if Lee hadn't acted immediately, I might not be standing here today. After 2 years of house arrest, Snoop was found not guilty on the grounds of self-defense. The case inspired one of Snoop's most popular songs, Murder Was the Case. The song found resounding success with over 5.5 million views on YouTube, and fans wanted more. To coast off of the momentum that was created over years of suffering, Snoop went on to encapsulate the story in a short film. The short film, released under the same name, Murder Was the Case, is an 18-minute short that chronicles in more detail the story behind the case and is directed by none other than Dr. Dre. Number 2. 50 Cent. Not many people have had such a hard yet interesting life as 50 Cent. He was raised without a father and by a drug dealer mother who died when he was 8. He was raised by his grandmother from then on. He opened a boxing gym at the age of 14 but had already started selling drugs on the streets and bringing his product and guns to school until he was expelled and arrested. When he was 19, he was arrested again for selling narcotics to an undercover cop, and when police searched his house, they found small amounts of cocaine and an unlicensed pistol. He served 6 months in a boot camp and eventually started his new career in rapping. Even though it is widely believed that he has never killed anybody personally, it has been speculated that he organized the murder of Daryl Hummel Bohm, the man who shot 50 Cent 9 times in May of 2000. It was never proven to lead back to the rapper, but theories arose that 50 Cent may have had something to do with his murder, and it makes a lot of sense to retaliate against someone who nearly killed him outside his own grandmother's house. Moreover, in 50 Cent's hit song Many Men, in the music video, he can be seen making a shady deal with someone who ultimately shoots someone as the rapper walks out of a building 30 seconds later. Maybe he was trying to subliminally say that he did have something to do with the murder after all. But one thing is for certain, don't mess with 50. Number 1. G-Dep. G-Dep is the only rapper on this list who actually committed murder and also got away with it. In 1993, Depp killed a man in cold blood, but the case was never solved. Fast forward to 2010, G-Depp, perhaps haunted by guilt, walked into a Harlem police precinct and told the on-duty police officers that he had shot and killed a man in 1993.
And then I fired 3 times.
After which he was immediately detained. According to an officer who was at the precinct, we immediately knew who he was the moment he walked in. and there was this look on his face that could only mean one thing. According to GDEP, he had tried to mug a stranger at gunpoint when they started fighting for his weapon. He fired 3 shots and fled. Authorities linked the 1993 unsolved murder of John Henkel, 32, with Depp's story. He told the New York Post that he felt he acted responsibly. Maybe at the end of serving time or after looking back, someone might feel differently, GDEP told the paper. But for now, I feel that what I did was right. For cooperating with the law and helping close an unsolved case, he received a minimum sentence of 15 to life. And that's a wrap on 5 rappers who have killed. Were any of your favorites in this list? Who did we miss out? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.